Hello, this is Joan Fernley, your French and Latin diction coach for choirs, and in this video I will read Calme des nuits by Camille Saint-Saëns. I will begin with a short introduction and then jump right into the tutorial, which will be in two parts. First the reading and then some coaching. Now this is the first of a set of two songs. It was composed in 1882 and published in 1883 and dedicated to Charles Gounod. The second song in this duo is Les fleurs et les arbres, and the tutorial for that song is in the description box, along with all my sources and links and any corrections or additional information that might come up after I've posted the video. Both songs go very well together and can be performed as a set, but that's not a rule. You can pick one or the other. And Saint-Saëns composed these two songs without accompaniment, and that's what most choirs do. They'll perform it a cappella. But don't let that stop you. In fact, the published editions include a piano reduction along with the instruction ad libitum, which means the pianist can play more or less as needed or as desired. Also, there is a later version published by the same editor, which is not faithful to the original composition. This is an error and it creeps right in at the beginning. In the original, the entries for each section are sequential. Start with the basses, followed by the tenors, and so on. Saint-Saëns then repeats the same pattern in the next line, and he uses sequential entries later in the piece as well. Now compare that to the later version where the sopranos, altos, and tenors come in together. This is not consistent with the rest of the piece and not in Saint-Saëns' original manuscript. So many choirs have sung this later version, and they are beautiful professional recordings as well. To be clear, I'm not pointing fingers at any choirs. This is the editor's mistake, and it's very minor. But I think the original version is better, and now you know. So if you have copies with the mistake and you want to be faithful to the original manuscript, it's a very easy fix. The notes are the same, it's just the entries that change for the section. And now, with that introduction out of the way, please take a moment to like, share, subscribe, and comment below. And now let's jump into the tutorial. The French you'll hear in this reading is much more formal than the way I would normally speak. It's formal French. And I use it here because it's the standard for this kind of classical music of this period, but mostly because it supports healthy singing. There's great vocal placement and resonance. Also, the words are much clearer and you will sound French. Calme des nuits, fraîcheur des soirs. Vaste scintillement des mondes, grand silence des antres noirs, vous charmez les âmes profondes. L'éclat du soleil, la gaieté, le bruit plaisent aux plus futiles. Le poète seul est hanté par l'amour des choses tranquilles. The first word of this song sets the tone for all your A's. The French A is very bright. It's placed forward and high. Ah, calme. That's most of the time. There's also another ah sound, which is a bit darker. Ah. I'm going to jump ahead to the last verse, the last line of this verse where you have this word, âme. And the little accent on top of the A signals that darker sound. French is a living language, and many regions have shifted from this darker ah to ah. So people will say âme and not âme. But when singing this kind of music, you want formal French, at least as your starting point. Now the word calme also sets the tone for your final E's. This is the schwa, which is the sound you make when everything's relaxed. It's just Unfortunately, that sound doesn't really carry, it doesn't have much resonance, and in singing we have to modify it a little bit with some rounding. So instead of we get It's a very subtle shift, but it makes all the difference. And you can get this sound by saying father, with a British accent, with a forward placement and a bit of rounding. Father. So we have calme, âme. And notice how the is never emphasized. Next we have de, And this is another example of shifting sounds. In formal French, it's definitely de. But in regular speech, you might see advice for this. Most people, including myself, will often say de. So keep in mind, in formal French, for this kind of music, it's de. Then we have nuit, and that's a tricky word. It's an U sound, not oo. So we say nuit, not nuit. But I know the U is a very challenging vowel for English speakers, and I talk about it in just about all my videos. The trick is to start with an E sound, but one that is still a bit rounded, not like saying cheese with your lips spread. To do that, you place the tip of the tongue right behind the lower front teeth, and you let the tongue curl forward and with a bit of pressure behind the teeth. And that's your singing E. And you keep saying E, and you just round your lips around as if you're rounding your lips around a straw, or imagine your lips coming forward like a trumpet. And so you round around that E sound. E, U. And then you just add the E sound for nuit. Nuit. Next is fraîcheur. The combination of A and I is e, just like de. And the second half of the word is cheur. It's the same like saying father. And then we have the light R at the end. Fraîcheur. Then we have soir. And here the OI combination is voiced as a W followed by an A sound, just like âme. And of course, we always flip the R at the end. Soir. Post-production Joan here. There's a subtlety I want to point out. I just said that the phonetic pronunciation of OI is wa with the darker ah sound. But if you look it up, you will see wa with the bright ah sound. And in fact, that's how I often pronounce the OI combination. So why not with soir? The answer is because the OI in this case is in the final syllable. Of course, I know this is a one-syllable word, so here's a two-syllable word to illustrate. The French word for power. I would say pouvoir with the A sound, not pouvoir with the A sound. Both are technically correct, and it does feel like I'm splitting hairs. The sounds are similar and nowhere near the dark O sound, which is much further back in the throat and to be avoided. But even if today some French speakers no longer make a clear distinction, they certainly did in Paris right into the 19th century, which lines up perfectly with Camille Saint-Saëns' timing and location. But the historical argument may not be sufficient. Languages evolve. So in a situation like this, where there might be some uncertainty, I turn to the poetry for guidance. In this poem, soir and noir are final words. They're at the end of poetic lines and musical phrases. These endings call for a warm, soft landing, which is what you get with the ah sound much more than with ah. Ultimately, poetically and musically, it makes sense to make the distinction between the ah in calme and the ah in soir, or later in noir. Calme des nuits, fraîcheur des soirs. Grand silence des entre noirs. Okay, that was just the first line, and I did spend quite a bit of time, but as we cover more and more lines, things will speed up a bit. Next line, we start with vaste, which is just like calme. Then we have scintillement des mondes, which is quite a mouthful. There's plenty of nasalized vowels, which is when you have a vowel followed by an N or an M within the same syllable. The first combination we have is I and N, and that's un. And that starts with an E sound and it's nasalized into un. Then you have E and N, which is on. It's just you start with an A and you nasalize into on. And finally, you have monde, which has on, the O-N combination, where you start with a closed O and you nasalize into on. So now let's look again at scintillement, one sound at a time. The SC combination is just like science. It's just an S. So the first syllable is saint. Then you have T, the T-I combination, just like a cup of tea. Then the double L here is a Y sound, just like the Y in you. And the E that follows is just like the final E's in calme and vaste. And then you have MENT, and that's a nasalized en sound. Ma. Put that all together nice and slowly, you get scintillement. Vaste scintillement des mondes. We have a few nasal vowels in this line, and they're all en. And all the other sounds are quite straightforward. Grand, and the D is silent. Silence des entre noirs, which rhymes with soir. And here there's an important liaison. Grand silence des entre noirs. Next we have a new sound. We have oo in vous, just like you. But the tricky part is that in speech, when we say you, we tend to say you. So we squish that a little bit. So you want to make sure it's nice and round, and you have vous and not vous. And another pitfall is the e and charme. So you want to be sure to avoid the dreaded diphthong. It's not charme, but charme. One of the tricks you can do is go to the equivalent noun, which is charme. And notice how that takes up very little space. It's small, it's round, and it's not emphasized. It's not charme, it's charme. So to modify from charme to charme, you'd simply bring your tongue forward just a little bit. You curl it forward and you release the rounding a little bit. So you go from to e. Charme, charme. The rest of the line is mostly stuff we've already covered. Les âmes profondes. And just a quick note, the first O in profonde is an open O. It's not profonde, it's profonde. Next, l'éclat du soleil, la gaieté. L'éclat is simple, E and A, l'éclat. Du is, once again, the U that we discussed for nuit. And soleil starts with an open O like profonde, and the EIL combination is an A sound, just like the month of May. Soleil, la gaieté. Here the AI combination is not it's E. Both can happen in French. So here it's an A sound, gaieté, and no diphthongs. And then we begin with le bruit, which if you've mastered nuit, you're good to go. Le bruit. In plaise, the AI combination, we're back to the E sound that we had in fraîcheur. And the ENT combination here is not nasalized because it's a verb. So it's just a final sound. Plaise. O is simply a closed O. And finally, plus futile is great practice for your U vowel. Next, we have le poète. We start with an open O followed by an E sound. Poète. Then seul is the same E as in fraîcheur. And E is 3 letters, but just a single sound, E. Then we have hanté. Now the H is not actually voiced, but it's implied. It's still there. And we don't do a liaison between E and hanté. We don't say est hanté. It's est hanté. So this line is a bit tricky when it comes to the liaison, and I have tripped over it numerous times. Le poète seul est hanté. Le poète seul... See, I did it again. Le poète seul est hanté. It's so easy to trip up. And now the final line. Par l'amour des choses. That's a closed O. Tranquille. And this last word may be a bit tricky. Watch out for the Q-U combination. In French, that's a K sound. So the syllable is qui, not qui. And here the double L is a true voiced L sound. It's not a Y sound like we had in scintillement. So the whole word is tranquille. Par l'amour des choses tranquilles. Well, there you have it. Calme des nuits by Camille Saint-Saëns. Thank you for watching. Like, share, subscribe, and comment below, and I will see you in the next video.